Well, I'm Michael Carr. I'm from the Episcopal Church in Vista, All Saints, the other All Saints.
The older All Saints?
The older All Saints. Yeah, who was it? Dale was talking about the package. The package deal. Well, if you looked at the wedding today, that's part of our package. Rowan Williams, who did the vows, the exchange of vows, is our Archbishop of Canterbury. He is our titular head of our Anglican communion. And he's also the one who's been chastised in the United States for our increasingly progressive stance. Ever since Gene Robinson was elected bishop in New Hampshire, and now we have Mary Glasspool, who's been elected suffragan in Los Angeles. So, you know, I wish I could say that the whole of the Anglican communion was with us. But I can't even say that all the churches in San Diego are with us. And it's, even though we have a bishop who supports equal rights, and you know, I'm glad that he signed the letter with the other denominations against Proposition 8. You know, we still have churches in our communion which are not supportive, and you know, it shows a whole parallel. Well, as you can well imagine, I mean, we're a church that was founded at least 500 years ago, and if you go by my book, we were further back than that. We still remain Catholic with a small c. We're still in dialogue with the Roman Catholic and the Orthodox churches, or at least were even more so until we started having women in ministry, and that was one bump along the road.
Sorry.
And now, yeah, and now the latest bump along the road is our open and affirming stance for homosexuals. And our convention just met last year in Anaheim again, which it had several years before. And this year they pretty much got our group, which we're a part of, Integrity, which is our Episcopal active part, trying to fight for justice and peace with the gay and lesbian communities. They were very successful this last convention, and actually got a canon that says that local bishops can make the decision to authorize same-sex blessings and marriages in their own diocese, and they can also have the liturgical forms drawn up for them. After that happened, we were actually chastised again from Rowan Williams and the Archbishop of Canterbury, and we're asked to have a year of study, and they sent out a report called the Windsor Report, and we were all supposed to read, mark, and inwardly digest the Windsor Report. And basically at the end of it, it says, even though we have a loose association of churches which span the globe, these churches cannot be forced in their individual locations to a unanimous doctrine or understanding of scriptures. And so, you know, we've come about it painfully and slowly, I think, in the church. The church in Canada and the church in the United States have been the two most targeted churches as being those who are disruptive in the Anglican communion. And the Church of Canada, of course, has been doing same-sex weddings because it's been the law there for a while, so that's what's gotten them into trouble. And,
good for them.
Yeah, good for them. But we're ready. You know, we're ready to step up to the plate. We have, you know, our bishop last time we met together as a clergy group, he said that he was giving it. He was authorizing same-sex blessings. So I think we're ready to go as soon as the law is turned around to make it happen. And it looks, and we pray that that'll happen very soon and very, very nicely. in the courts. So we'll be ready to do that and to go on board. I've been involved in this just here for maybe 3 years. Gina's drug me in, but in a nice way. It's been a good community in which I find myself, and just a little brief history of All Saints. You may have known we were definitely on the other side of the pendulum before I came, before I was called to serve in Vista. The previous rector, as we call him, was so anti-gay that he ended up splitting from the Episcopal Church and formed his own group and went to St. Anne's in Oceanside for a while, and then when that church was pulled back into the fold into the Episcopal denomination, now they've gone somewhere else. But you know, it's a tough. You know, there's a whole big split church. The Anglican, they call it the ACNA, the Anglican Church of North America. Those are largely formed, I hate to say it, on bigotry and bias. You know, that's their main pet peeve, and it disturbs me greatly. So I come here humbly saying I'm with you, but I can't say that we're unanimously as a denomination there yet. But we're definitely here with you at All Saints in our in our local church, and proud to be a supporter of this group.
I'm Robin Mitchell. I am a lay member of the UU Fellowship of San Dieguito down in Solana Beach. And I'd like to start by passing along our minister's regrets that he couldn't be here with you tonight. He wants to begin being in dialogue with the local GLBT community, getting more involved than we have been in the past. But he is leading a worship service tonight, which is one of the things that a minister cannot get out of. And so he asked me to be here instead. I've been a member of the fellowship for a little over 20 years now. I'm a member of our worship team. I help prepare the services. I help lead them sometimes. When they absolutely can't find anyone else to preach, I preach sometimes. I lead a Buddhist meditation group and some other small group spirituality groups. So I'm a member of the community, and he wanted me to be here to represent us. And I knew that I was going to be on the panel after two real-live UU ministers who I thought would probably do a good job of talking about our denomination in general, and they did. Thank you very much. So I was going to talk briefly about how I've seen the principles that they talked about at work in our own congregation. Like the Palomar Fellowship, we officially became a welcoming congregation in 2003. I think was when you guys did also. Committing ourselves to being a safe, welcoming, affirming community for GLBT people. And as we did this, our congregation really impressed me in two ways. First, there was really overwhelming support for the idea when we began discussing it in 2001. Almost everyone in the congregation saw this as something that we really needed to be doing. And second, I saw people put in really an amazing amount of heart and effort into the process. Becoming a welcoming congregation, as some of you know, it's not just a simple matter of voting to add some inclusive language to your covenant and your bylaws. It's really a pretty arduous series of workshops where you look at things like homophobia in yourself, in your congregation, in society. You look at the nature of oppression, you look at heterosexual privilege. A lot of things that really were not easy for our mostly heterosexual and almost entirely gender congruent congregation to look at. And I was very touched by how willing people were to engage, to open up, to make themselves vulnerable. And I really think the congregation gained a lot of heart as we went through the process. As Reverend Hilton mentioned, the UU denomination has been ordaining and equally treating openly gay, lesbian, and bisexual ministers since at least 1980. And our previous minister at our fellowship was a partnered lesbian woman. After interviewing her and having her meet and preach to the congregation as UU Democratic congregations do, we unanimously voted to accept her as our minister. In a secret ballot vote, there was not a single person who voted against calling her. And in the 5 years that she was with us, I never heard anyone say anything amiss about her orientation. Her partner was welcomed into the congregation. She was attending seminary herself and helped lead our worship services and some of our small groups. We have a very active religious education program for children and youth in our congregation. And one important part of it is our sexual education program called OWL, or Our Whole Lives. This is what you might call a reality-based program, where our youth can learn who they are and develop healthy values in an accepting environment with actually good, inclusive information about things like sexual orientation and gender identity. I know from personal experience what it's like to grow up outside the mainstream and just how absolutely alone you can feel. And I really think this program is helping save children's lives by showing them that they're not alone and that they're honored and accepted for whoever they happen to be. And the message seems to be getting through not just to any gay or transgendered youth, but to all of our youth. One of our heterosexual youth is who's helping with the intergenerational service tonight, which is why our minister isn't here, also organized the Day of Silence service at her high school this year. Our adults have been active as part of the UU marriage equality campaign, not as much as some of the other fellowships, which we kind of regret. But we have demonstrated against Prop 8. We've organized petition drives to have it voided. And our new minister, who's been with us for about 2 years, Reverend David Miller, seems to really have a fire in his belly about social justice work in general. He said that he intends for us to become much more involved in the UU Standing on the Side of Love campaign that Reverend Hilton talked about against all kinds of identity-based orientation. Or excuse me, identity-based discrimination next year. So I expect us to become much more involved in the marriage movement no matter what happens in the courts. My own personal belief is that one of the most important things that religion can do is to open our hearts to a radical love and acceptance of all people. And I'm very happy to be part of a denomination and a congregation that really do take that seriously. So thank you very much for inviting me and all of us to be here with you this evening.
Thank you very much to all of you for being here. Okay, they say there are no accidents in the universe, but when enough energy builds up, okay, it will collapse into reality. So this is proof that the energy is here. It has been hidden, but now that we know each other, hopefully it will continue. Okay. This is our dialogue section, and any one of you has a question in general, or if you want to specifically address anybody in the panel, this is the time to do it.